Sometimes, the scariest monsters aren't the ones hiding in the dark. They're the ones that grow quietly inside someone's mind. A strange obsession, a twisted imagination, a child who never really learned the difference between a game and cruelty. And if that imagination ever grew powerful enough to infect the world around it, then one disturbing question remains. What if the nightmare wasn't real, but the person dreaming it was? Tonight's story follows a woman who spent 10 years searching for a missing family, only to discover that the truth behind their disappearance might be far more disturbing than she ever imagined. The story begins with a young woman named Michina, who mentions she has been walking all over Japan for a long time. We see her approaching an elderly man sweeping outside his home in a quiet rural town. 10 years have already passed since the event that set her on this journey. She politely asks the old man if there is a Soichi family living anywhere in the area, showing him a 10-year-old photograph of a family of 6 to help jog his memory. However, the old man looks at the picture and apologizes, saying he can't help her. Michina thanks him and walks away, feeling the weight of the passing time. She sighs to herself, frustrated by yet another wild goose chase as she wanders down the country road, realizing she needs to find a place to stay for the night. Later, Michina is resting in her room at a local hotel. She is on her cell phone, fiercely arguing with someone, her brother, telling him she isn't giving up because the person they're looking for has to be somewhere. Her brother tells her she can look all she wants, but reminds her that they already filed a missing persons report for Koichi and his family. Michina gets angry, asking if that's really good enough for him when it's their own family they are talking about. Her brother replies that of course he's worried and has been looking hard too, but Michina angrily snaps her phone shut, declaring she will keep looking with or without him. As she walks down the dark, quiet hallway of the inn, she admits to herself that her brother is right. She really has no idea what she's doing or where she's going. Her thoughts are interrupted when the elderly innkeeper slides open a door and cheerfully announces that dinner is served. Michina sits on a cushion at a low table in her room, a beautiful view of Mount Fuji, visible through the sliding glass doors behind her. She presses her hands together to give thanks for the meal, but suddenly, the peace is shattered by a loud, obnoxious voice yelling, "Nya, nya!" A chubby little boy runs past the open doorway, followed quickly by the frantic innkeeper trying to catch him. The boy bursts into Michina's room, running wildly in circles while his mother chases after him, scolding him for interrupting their guest's dinner. The boy just turns back with a chilling, wide-mouthed smile, laughing maniacally. The innkeeper finally tackles the boy to the tatami mat. Michina, trying to be polite, smiles and says she doesn't mind, calling him an active little guy. The boy, pinned to the floor, smirks up at his mother and tells her to let him go since he's just a kid. His mother angrily swats his backside, telling him not to talk back. Suddenly, the boy turns his head and forcefully spits something from his mouth. 3 sharp iron nails fly through the air with a swish, narrowly missing Michina's face and embedding themselves with a loud thwack into the wooden pillar right beside her head. Michina freezes, staring in absolute shock, a drop of sweat rolling down her face. We then see a horrifying close-up of little Hiroshi. His mouth is stretched into a grotesque, terrifying grin, and clamped between his teeth are several long iron nails. He giggles menacingly as his mother screams in horror, demanding he get over to her. Later, the innkeeper is seen bowing deeply, profusely apologizing to Michina. Back in the room, the poor woman is crying into a towel, explaining that Hiroshi was never like this before. Michina, still shaken, asks if those were nails he spat, expressing genuine concern for the boy. The mother explains that it all started last year after Hiroshi went on a trip with a friend to visit as many haunted houses as they could, and he was simply never the same after he returned. That night, Michina lies awake in her futon, staring out into the dark hallway. She can't stop thinking about the boy's chilling smile and the nails in his mouth. To her, he is a dead ringer for Soichi, the youngest son of the Tsuji family. She envisions a dark, warped little boy wielding a mallet and voodoo doll who always kept nails in his mouth. She figures Soichi would be 27 by now, but she can't understand why young Hiroshi would be mimicking his bizarre behavior. Looking out at the hotel the next morning, Michina feels certain that this strange incident must be connected to the disappearance of the Tsuji family. Sitting in the lobby, she intently reads the morning newspaper while the innkeeper brings her a cup of tea, asking if she found any clues. Michina quietly says she hasn't, but her eyes are locked onto a shocking headline: "Nail-biting boys on the rise." Nationwide phenomenon. The article features a censored photo of two boys holding mallets and voodoo dolls, nails jutting from their grinning mouths. The article details how parents nationwide are reporting their usually well-behaved sons abruptly turning to this deviant behavior, which includes holding and forcibly ejecting nails from their mouths. This terrifying trend has been spreading northward across Japan in a uniform wave, likened to a military front line, and has now reached the northern tip of the Tohoku region. Armed with this new information, Michina immediately takes a train north. We hear her leaving a message explaining that she found a clue and is heading to Tohoku. Stepping off the rural train at a small, isolated station, she notes that based on her research and the news reports, she is now stepping right into the thick of the Soichi Front. Her first destination is to find these mysterious, haunted houses. As she walks down a wooded path, she suddenly hears a mocking cry of "Nya! Nya!" Looking into the trees, she spots a terrifying sight. A pack of creepy, grinning boys running wildly through the forest, holding mallets and voodoo dolls, laughing hysterically. In the background, other boys are actively hammering voodoo dolls into the tree trunks. Another boy with nails in his mouth stares menacingly at her from a nearby window. Michina approaches an elderly woman working outside her home and asks about the haunted houses. The woman points her toward a path leading up the rugged, forested mountain. Michina follows the directions, hiking alone up the steep, winding mountain trail, venturing deeper into the eerie, dense woods. She questions who would ever build an amusement venue in such a desolate place. Suddenly, a loud crunching sound from the bushes ahead makes her stop dead in her tracks. She watches in shock as a dark, ragged figure thrashes within the brush before bursting out onto the path. It is a grotesque, emaciated person, wearing tattered clothes, their limbs moving in a twisted, unnatural scramble as they lunge forward through the forest. Michina gasps in surprise, bracing herself as the creature approaches. The terrifying figure lunges directly into Michina's face, and we get a horrifying close-up of its grotesque features. Its massive, bloodshot eye weeps a dark, viscous fluid, and its mouth hangs open to reveal jagged, rotting teeth. The bald, skeletal man reaches out a trembling, withered hand and desperately croaks, "Help us!" Michina screams in absolute terror, stumbling backward into the brush to get away from him. The frantic man points a bony finger toward the woods and cries out that they are in the haunted house. Michina, still panicking and confused, stammers, asking what he means. The wretched figure explains that he still has his family and begs her to help them, shouting that he managed to get out, but the others are still trapped. He points frantically into the distance, screaming, "There, over there. He's holding us all in there. We need help." Catching her breath, Michina asks if he means the haunted house. The old man shudders, saying it scares him just to think about it. As Michina wonders to herself what on earth is going on in there, she tries to calm the man down, mentioning that she has actually been looking for these haunted houses. Behind them, ominous crunching sounds begin echoing through the forest brush. The man continues his frantic warning, his eyes wide with madness. He tells her that looking after that thing was the worst of all, and that the manager isn't the only problem. The manager has a son, a terrifying creature born of an inhuman mother. We see a brief, chilling glimpse of a monstrous maw lined with razor-sharp fangs. The ragged man cries that the manager is an absolute monster who destroyed his family, cursing them and putting them all under a spell so they would be forced to work for him. Michina, looking deeply concerned, asks who this manager is. The man reveals that the manager is his own brother, a frightening guy. He explains that he finally managed to escape, but not before the monstrous boy got in a bite or two, holding up his arm to show Michina a gruesome, mangled wound. Trying to make a connection, Michina formally introduces herself. She tells him her name is Michina Hirose and explains that she is looking for her cousins, the Tsuji family. Hearing her name, the man's face twists into an expression of pure, stunned horror. He lets out a strained gasp, turns around, and instantly bolts away, sprinting back into the dark woods with loud crunches of stepping on the brush. Michina chases after him, desperately yelling for him to wait. But the terrifyingly emaciated man just screams back, "Please go home! Go home!" as he disappears into the trees. Michina stops, panting and covered in sweat, wondering why he ran away just at the sound of her name. As she walks alone through the bleak, bare forest, a horrifying realization dawns on her. She thinks to herself that it couldn't possibly have been Koichi, but if it was him, he had changed so much that she completely failed to recognize her own cousin. And if that ragged, broken man was Koichi, that would make the evil manager of the haunted house his younger brother, Soichi. She dreads what on earth could have happened to them during the 10 years they were missing. Suddenly, she gasps. Through the dead branches, she spots her destination. Standing before her, in the middle of the desolate woods, is a massive, dilapidated wooden building. Tattered banners flapping in the wind read "Haunted House." The entrance is a dark, jagged hole that looks like the mouth of a beast. Michina cautiously approaches the ruined building, peering nervously into the pitch-black doorway, her hands gripping the rotting wood frame. Stepping inside, she is surrounded by a bizarre array of classic Japanese haunted house props. Ghostly figures hang from the ceiling, eerie paper lanterns float in the dark, and skeletal hands reach up from the fake grass. Skulls and weird papier-mâché monsters litter the room. Walking past a fake gravestone, Michina notes that these weird papier-mâché heads look exactly like the ones Soichi used to keep in his room as a boy. Suddenly, the eerie silence is broken by a pathetic voice pleading for forgiveness, followed by a sharp screech. From the shadows ahead, Michina hears the sickening, repetitive sound of someone being beaten. She peers around the corner and sees a silhouette raising a whip or stick, striking someone cowering on the ground. Michina rushes forward to find the ragged man Koichi sprawled on the floor, begging, "Please, forgive me, Master Soichi." Standing over him is a tall, slender adult man in a sharp suit, his hair slicked back. It is Soichi. He is mercilessly whipping his older brother, sneering at him for daring to escape the haunted house, calling him a dirty, low-down, good-for-nothing. As Soichi laughs his signature, creepy, Michina steps out of the shadows, her face locked in a serious glare, and commands him to stop at once. Soichi pauses, holding his stick, and turns to look at her, with iron nails jutting from his grinning mouth. He recognizes her immediately, noting that he never forgets a face. Michina doesn't back down. She angrily yells at him, demanding to know what the hell he is doing, whipping his own brother. She calls him insane, telling him that while he was always a disturbed little boy, this crosses a line into pure wickedness. Soichi just smirks around the nails in his mouth. He mockingly asks if she will at least acknowledge his considerable magic ability, boasting that it didn't happen overnight. He brags that thanks to his haunted house setups, his dark magic has been ensnaring children all over the nation, making him a very influential figure. Having absolutely none of it, Michina points a fierce finger at him and shouts that she didn't come here to listen to his crap. She demands that he let Koichi, Sayuri, and her aunt and uncle go this instant. Soichi just lets out a dry, mocking laugh. Without warning, Soichi grabs the emaciated Koichi by his ragged clothes and violently drags him up a nearby staircase. He laughs maniacally, taunting Michina over his shoulder, telling her that if she wants them, she can come and get them. Michina runs the stairs, yelling for him to stop, and chases them up into the darkness. She emerges into a dark, cluttered attic filled with broken furniture, debris, and wooden pillars covered in nailed voodoo dolls. She walks through the ruined room, calling out for Soichi to show himself and for Koichi to say something. Suddenly, a low, menacing growl echoes through the attic. Michina breaks into a cold sweat, her eyes widening as she turns her head toward the horrific sound. In the darkest corner of the room sits a large wooden cage. The floor around it is littered with scattered bones and empty bowls. Kneeling on the floor directly in front of the cage is a woman, bound tightly in ropes, her head slumped forward so her long hair entirely obscures her face. But inside the cage is the true nightmare. Crouching in the shadows is a dark, monstrous figure. As it lunges forward against the wooden bars, we see a pale, terrifying boy with wide, crazed, staring eyes. His mouth is stretched impossibly wide, filled to the brim with rows of massive, needle-like, razor-sharp fangs. The monstrous child grips the bars, staring hungrily at Michina. Michina stares in absolute horror as the woman bound on the floor beside the cage slowly lifts her head. Recognizing her exhausted, lifeless face, Michina gasps, realizing it is her cousin Sayuri. Sayuri looks up and deadpans, noting how long it has been since she saw little Michina. Michina rushes over to her, saying they have to get out of there, and asks where their aunt and uncle are. Sayuri chillingly replies that their parents have passed on, leaving Michina stunned and asking how. Sayuri points toward the cage and explains that they died while looking after the monster inside. The creature ate both of them. The fanged boy grips the bars, drooling and demanding Michina's warm guts because he is hungry. Soichi stands proudly nearby, a cigar surrounded by nails in his mouth, and introduces the beast as his only son, Binzo. He boasts that the boy is to die for, though he sweats slightly and mutters that he wonders who Binzo gets his scary nature from. Changing his tone, Soichi orders the emaciated Koichi to throw Michina in the brig, screaming at him to hurry up and do it. Koichi lets out a feral grunt and lunges at Michina, his eyes wide and blank under the curse. He brutally tackles her to the ground as she screams his name, his hands tightly gripping her throat. As Koichi chokes her, Michina desperately pleads with him to stop and remember the handsome, reliable boy he used to be. She cries out that they are family, and she remembers their summer breaks clearly chasing each other with butterfly nets, swimming, eating watermelon and ice cream, and jumping on the trampoline. She begs him to let go, insisting that Soichi can never take those happy memories away from them. Michina commands him to be the man he was supposed to be, and her heartfelt words finally break the spell. Koichi releases her neck, tears streaming down his face as he apologizes, his humanity restored. Sayuri also snaps out of her stupor, declaring she will never work for Soichi as long as she lives. Koichi furiously turns to his brother, yelling that they have had enough. Realizing his control is slipping, Soichi frantically begins chanting a new curse about moldy sandwich spots, gesturing wildly. But before Soichi can finish, Koichi leaps into the air and delivers a powerful kick straight into the wooden cage, shouting that Soichi can look after the little freak himself. The cage smashes open with a loud crash, and Binzo crawls out, growling and glaring with his massive, toothy maw. Soichi panics and tries to back away. Binzo immediately jumps onto Soichi's back, violently biting into his shoulder. Soichi shrieks in agonizing pain as the boy chomps down, screaming that he is his father. Taking advantage of the chaos, Koichi grabs Sayuri, and Michina watches as Soichi bursts out of the haunted house, screaming in terror while struggling to pull the monster off his back. Soichi stumbles outside into the dark woods, sweating and crying out. Suddenly, a towering, impossibly tall woman with a horrifyingly long face and sharp teeth steps into view. It is Fuchi, the inhuman mother. She stares down at him and calmly states that she has had it with him running away, deciding it is time to eat him. Fuchi opens her colossal mouth, exposing rows of razor-sharp fangs, and swallows both Soichi and Binzo whole in one massive gulp. The scene instantly cuts away to a young boy shooting up in his futon, screaming at the top of his lungs. It is a young Soichi, sitting in his own messy bedroom, surrounded by voodoo dolls. Panting and drenched in sweat, he catches his breath and realizes with immense relief that it was all just a bad dream. As he calms down, he smiles, thinking that wandering the country as a haunted house manager was scary but strangely amusing. He puts a signature nail back into his mouth and grumbles that his conquest of Japan felt incredibly real, annoyed that Michina was the one who ruined it for him. He looks out his bedroom window into the sunny yard. Outside, Michina, Koichi, and Sayuri are perfectly fine, looking young, normal, and happy as they play a game of badminton together. The nightmare is over, revealing it was nothing more than one of Soichi's twisted fantasies. The story concludes with a peaceful scene on the back porch of the family home, where Soichi's mother cheerfully slides open the screen door holding a large tray of fresh watermelon slices, asking if anyone wants some. Michina happily thanks her aunt, while Koichi thoughtfully suggests that they should probably save a piece for Soichi as well. Sayuri casually brushes off the idea, mentioning that Soichi is just taking a nap and telling everyone to go ahead and eat it all. As the group stands together on the porch, enjoying their sweet summer treat, Michina excitedly asks if they can all go swimming again after they finish eating, to which Koichi happily agrees. However, lurking just inside the dark house, hiding out of sight behind the doorframe, is the real Soichi. He glares at his family with jealous annoyance, his signature nails clamped tightly between his teeth as he angrily munches on his own slice of watermelon in the shadows. Looking thoroughly bitter that the rest of them are out there genuinely enjoying their summer break without a care in the world, Soichi grumbles to himself, vowing that he will just have to remember to put Koichi through absolute hell again the next time he goes to sleep and dreams. The chapter finally comes to a close with a wide, beautiful shot of the sunlit countryside and the quiet family home nestled in the trees. The loud, buzzing sound of summer cicadas fills the air, blending perfectly with the carefree, joyful laughter of Michina and her cousins echoing from the porch, bringing an end to this bizarre tale.